let's talk about Britney, because as we all know, Britney bitch knows how to lay down a beat. I'm genuinely serious when I say that. Come on, Toxic, one of the greatest songs of all time. And of course, Work Bitch. Ugh, what a letdown of a perfect legacy. Don't you think if she just stopped just before that? Oh my god. No, remember how she really killed it with, who's the chick that Snoop Dogg said looks like a chick from White Chicks? And she's Australian, but she pretends that she has like a South African American accent. Iggy Azalea. I'm sorry that there was dead air there. I will try and not do that in the future. That was very unprofessional of me. Britney bitch. You know why there's so much global love for her? There's two factors here. The first one, obviously, is that if there's one thing that I think is the meme that sums up Gen Y, and I know that I'm constantly shitting on Gen Z, and I think it's mostly because it's easy, and I know that most of you know that I could easily give you a noogie, and so I feel comfortable in doing that, much like when I'm speaking to someone from Gen X who goes and powerlifts all the time. I'm just like, yeah, you are better than me, even though you have a neck tat of a rat. But what's happening with Britney bitch is, I think her name is Britney Spears, actually. I don't know. Isn't it weird that became it? Like, she was just like, yeah, leave me as that as my legacy. It makes a lot of sense why you shaved your hair out. Britney Spears, why everyone likes her is there is the meme that sums up Generation Y is nostalgia. You know why we have nostalgia? And this is the point that I want to get into. So maybe I should do that. The reason that our generation has nostalgia is because we had the ability to have a shared situation. I always remember, and this is something that Gen Z is always giving me the shits about. They're annoying me. Yes, they are annoying me about it, but they are always saying to me that, oh, you use too many Simpsons references. Yeah, but that's because you remember The Simpsons in season 26. I remember it in fucking 6. So I don't want to hear any more shit about that, even though now I will mercilessly hear about it, which is some rule of the internet that I have not learned yet, which is that you do not draw attention to the things that you are vulnerable about because you will be mercilessly attacked for the rest of your life for it. Yeah. Why am I always talking about The Simpsons? And why is it that everyone that's Gen Y is like, I remember that joke? You know why? Because The Simpsons was our generation's war. As pathetic as that is, that was, okay, much like how I suppose boomers kind of remember like protesting the Vietnam War. That's the big thing that they all relegated around, and that's what their entire culture was built off. I don't want to put on boots and the reason I don't want to go to war is because I like walking around without a shirt on, man. And now I have skin cancer. Still better than war. Yeah, that's right. That's right. God was punishing you because you didn't go and fight in Nam. You cowards. And then Gen X, just a really, I don't know what that, Pepsi? I don't know what defined their generation. It was chat. I'm so, ugh. I suppose that's how Gen Z feels about us. But like every time I just look at Gen X, I'm just like, I see where I came from and I'm ashamed of it. But then we were the last generation that had something that you could all focus your attention on. That is never, ever going to happen again. That's why our generation just endlessly buys shirts that have Seinfeld on it and The Simpsons. And then when we heard that Britney was in trouble, we're like, oh my God, Britney, no. I can't live knowing that you are extremely rich and have all of your whims answered to. You deserve more money. That got to us. It got to me. Because we all grow up remembering just being like, yeah. And then as a 12-year-old boy, just being like, because again, Brazzers didn't exist yet. So that's all we had. We just had her being jailbait when we were an age where she doing that was, she would be going to jail. That's the age group that we were at that time. So we all loved it. It was all focused on that. So we have this focal point that is completely lacking in Gen Z. And that's why we have this like attachment to it, because it's this it's this thing of like this communal thing that we all had together that will never exist for Gen Z. You missed out on it, sucked in. That's why you feel so empty and devoid in life, because you really feel like that there was nothing that you all shared together. Oh no, my mistake. That fucked African American rapper that I can't remember the name of, that allowed someone to be trampled at his concert, was just like, yeah, fuck it, man, let's just keep playing, man. Like, yeah, you've got these events that are kind of like, oh my god, that's what you've got. We actually had people that we liked. What a concept. Yeah, so there is that nostalgia, that collective nostalgia that is happening there, that ties into the other factor, which is there was cultural focal points. There was things that you could shift the culture to. Now, that was a to and fro. There was forces that were shaping it, which is now that you had her in a gladiator suit with Pink and Ludacris drinking Pepsi. You had that, which was just kind of scary. Now that I think back at that, there was just that like, yes, look at the lens. But then the other thing that people are always complaining about, and this is something that people don't understand about the press, which I always get off about, you know, when people are always talking about the evils in the internet, and they're just being like, before we had reputable branch like the ABC and CNN that everybody could just focus on, realize, yes, okay, I have got no other opinions here other than Rupert Murdoch, so this other opinion must be correct. You had diversity in the media because you had 3 opinions that, if you look at it, actually all had the exact same opinion. It's just that they were using different cultural words to attract different audiences. Yes. And now you have all of these fucked little subcultures that you'll never be able to keep a track of, and everybody just walks around. So a very good example that I was talking to with my producer is, all right, the people that are watching this now, you probably all know who Andrew Tate is. Do you think that if you walk down the street and ask someone, do you know who Andrew Tate is, that is not from our specific demographic, what do you think their response will be? Who's Andrew Tate? Or maybe like, oh, I saw him on Project. Isn't there like he didn't kill like 5 women? Like that is going to be their like vague understanding. But if you ask anyone in society, do you know Delta Goodrem on an Australian level? Most people are going to know. There was that tiny little breach in the mainstream media when it was just dying. It's kind of the Hamish and Andy window, where Hamish and Andy, the absolute tether end of Gen Y, they are going to be remembered because they were able to capture every radio station in the country at once, nearly at once, everywhere. And so 2 million people were tuning into them because there was 5 options back then. So they were all listening to Hamish and Andy. It's actually how Kevin Rudd got elected, because he was able to just talk to Hamish and Andy, and then he could reach 10% of the population, instead of just going through the usual route of like, Sha, you're in the Labor Party. Would you say that you're a communist or a union thug? That wasn't happening on Hamish and Andy. They just wanted him to make a Smartie sandwich, and he did in style. On you, Kevin. That's not going to happen anymore. That is the same thing that I think is happening with Britney Spears. Yes, I cleaned myself up. I've learned my lesson. You're not allowed to say bitch anymore. But that's the whole thing, right? Like the people in the press still think that they own the narrative, and they're just like, oh my God, let's find a swear word they said and bring it up and blow it up out of context. But now I can just come up and be like, shut the fuck up, because I'm entering the same world as them. I inhabit the same world as them. So I have authority in that universe. But this is the point. Britney Spears kind of has cultural authority to our generation, but there will never be somebody that commands that level of cultural authority again. She is a relic of a dying era. Dead era. Truly dead. We are in the post-history. It's finally happened. I do think that that is the case. What are the differences of that? So now, as opposed to, as one philosopher once said, when newspapers came in, men used to have interesting gardens for minds, and then all of a sudden they had monocrop fields, because that's what newspapers were. It was all just think this, and so everybody thought that, and it was deliberately set up. I've got this. This is really interesting. It was in Australia, you can see any time that unions were popping up to organise the labour there, all of a sudden, hey, how about this newspaper here? No, this is a newspaper. Let's just look at this. These goddamn unions are drubbing Irish women. Well, we don't like the Irish at the moment. They're drubbing good old-fashioned Anglo women. Like, it was just making all of this propaganda together, and that would, disseminate people's minds. We are living in an age that is not that. So, when you live now and you walk around in the world, there are no binding references together. Everybody has different ones, which is kind of scary when you think about it. There's advantages and disadvantages of this. It's called the long tail. It means that anything that you choose to do in life, just know that there is next to zero chance that it will ever become mainstream. There's a few general focal points, like when the Queen died. Everybody knew who the Queen was. The royal family will probably continue. They have that privilege. You didn't think I was down with her. And then there's going to be world leaders that are going to have that, but there is never going to be a celebrity that has that. There is never going to be somebody that represents a culture that has that, because culture has just fractured into thousands, millions, indistinguishable things. There are still things on the internet to this day that I'm just like, huh? There's millions of people watching a chick type and whisper and pretend that she is the chick that checks in your bags at a hotel. Yeah, that exists. And there's probably a bunch of people that didn't know it exists, Ed. Or just like, some fat chick eating a bunch of crab's legs. That's a culture now. Who knew? But this is what happens. So there is this thing of just like, you're never able to reach the magnitude of people that you will ever be able to reach again. But you can hyper reach one group of people. And you can propagandize them to do whatever you want them to do. Such as, I want you to sign up to Jordan Shanks, because if you thought that was good, I've got a much better extended conversation about how to harness that and the importance of harnessing that, and why if you aren't harnessing that, you are losing because you don't understand the zeitgeist that you are in right now. And the zeitgeist that you're in right now is everybody lives in their own little universe, and there is a small culture around that little universe, and the way that you profit is by signing up to Jordan Shanks. And if you do sign up to Jordan Shanks, not only will you be getting that information, you'll be getting all kinds of information that will be pushing you to be far more successful than the average person. And the reason that it will make you far more successful than the average person is because I have read hundreds of books about people saying this is what successful people do. There are patterns. There are patterns to failure. If you do certain actions in life, you will fail. And if you do certain actions in life, you will succeed. Citation of my own life, virtually everybody that I know that I grew up with, there's a few winners out there, sure. But the reason that they were doing this is that they blindly walked into the things that I was consciously reading about. If you are conscious of these things, I can guarantee you the success. Do you want to random throw a dice about you winning in life? No, of course you don't. Instead of, this is the difference, right? Most people in life, if they stumble into success, they've done it because they've just crap-shooted it. They've just rolled up the lucky dice and yay, yeah? But there are predictable patterns to success. So instead of rolling the dice, how about you get a shares portfolio, baby? That's what it is. A shares portfolio for the mind. I sincerely believe that. Don't make fun of me in the comments. I'm very, very frail because I don't understand it, because I'm Gen Y, and your irony, I don't get it anymore.